Hey, for anyone who watched my last video, which I actually posted this morning, I kind of talked about three different options um, for you know the average person to decide how to deal with today's economic realities. And the first way I said was you could move overseas, find yourself a little hut somewhere, and just work some basic job, washing dishes, bartending, whatever. I wanted to expand on that because it is not necessary for people to leave the United States, because there are people who, I mean, especially like me, I don't plan on leaving the United States. I would love to. I just spent 2.5 weeks in Belize on an island called Cape Cocker, and I absolutely loved it. It was the most de-stressing, absolutely phenomenal time I've ever had. I walked every day, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, and as a socialist, many people say to me, you need to work to change the country. Don't be running off. Well, here's the deal. Anyone who studied dialectics and Marxist Leninism would know that you base anything on, you have to look at everything. You find the contradictions to the contradiction, the negation of the negation, however you want to put it. The In historical and material realities, conditions, you have to look at that stuff. And I'm sorry, but right now, our chances of turning the United States into a hardcore socialist economy is slim to none. Uh, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm voting Green Party this time. I'll never make the mistake of voting for one of the major parties again. Uh, uh, with the Republicans, you get poverty. With the Democrats, you get war. That's just all there is to it. Um, so I'm going to vote third party, and I encourage everyone to do that. But in the meantime, I'm going to have to live my life pretty much as anarchistically as I can, even though I am a Marxist Leninist. I believe government is necessary. I do not believe, for the time being, sometime in the future, I get it, communism, stateless, cashless, classless society, getting back to the way things were before the Industrial Revolution, but with the industrial productivity still there. But in the meantime, we need to have money, and money is not created in a computer in a bunch of these little piss ants, blockchain, and all that. It is created by a bank, by the government actually, preferably the central bank, not the Federal Reserve, which is a private bank which controls our government. But anyway, the point is that the way we build infrastructure, the way we build economies, that kind of thing, is to have a strong government. Historically, anyone who tries to claim that libertarian free market economics is good for any economy simply needs to look at Argentina right now. They were under the power of the neoliberal class, which is like our guys, the fire economy I mentioned earlier, financial, insurance, real estate. And they ran up all kinds of debt. They just horrible, horrible job doing the economy. Well, instead of becoming more socialist and the government, managing the economy to deal with their debt and et cetera, they voted in this libertarian kook who is very much like a Republican here in the U.S. right now. And you will see, just watch Argentina and you will know exactly the way we're going to go if Donald Trump wins his election next year, which is fairly certain he's going to, because Joe Biden has become nothing but a genocidal backer. Sorry, anyone who watches this and doesn't like what I have to say, tough, tough. Biden he's in the process of trying to start a third war for us, and he's going to have our troops involved in all three of them, and we are going to get massacred. And if your kids are in the military, I pray for you. I really do. God bless you. I'm a veteran, but this is ridiculous. We're not defending our country. Anyway, with all that said, my wife and I are building out a bus. It's a schoolie, and old school bus, flat nose, 30 foot, putting in a bed and a kitchen and a bathroom, and we're going to have a little living area, and we're just going to drive. And we're going to spend significant amounts, we're going to chase the weather, and we're going to spend significant amount of time in Mexico, and basically live off our retirement, and do our best to bless other people along the road. We should have, because we will not have rent or mortgage anywhere, we should have plenty. I've got to plug my phone in. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention when I started this process. But we should have plenty to be able to buy, meet our needs and have enough to share. And that is very important to us as socialists, to share with others. Now, this is the other option besides moving out of the United States. There are many people right now who are being forced to live in their vehicles because real estate is out of control. It absolutely is. It's part of the fire economy. The whole point is the capitalists of today are absolute idiots, because they're pricing their consumers out of the consumption market. When they buy up all these homes and they put rent above what anyone can afford, they're going to end up with a bunch of empty homes and losing money on their investment. They're not going to be able to sell those homes because nobody's making enough money to buy those homes. And when I say nobody, I don't mean I've got sons that make over $40 an hour. I have a son who 18 years old, he's making $23 an hour. I get it. There's money out there. But the average U.S. citizen is working and living paycheck to paycheck. My 18-year-old can survive on $23 an hour or whatever because he lives at home, and I haven't kicked him out yet. And I don't really plan on it yet. But I get it. I mean, it's hard to find a place to live around here, where we live up here in northern Michigan. But here's the deal: you get into a home, a vehicle that you can live in, and there are all kinds of jobs out there. There are jobs you can chase. You can go to places. I mean, watch the movie Nomadland. You should be able to find it on most of the streaming services: Hulu, Vudu, Tubi. You can find it, and you can see there's jobs at Amazon, seasonal jobs. There's seasonal jobs in the sugar beet industry, in places like Minnesota. Here in Michigan, you can go and work like a month and make like 10 grand. And believe me, if you have a vehicle that you can live in with some kind of a power unit, a Jackery, or we're going to have a station of batteries with a 1,200 watts of solar powering those batteries, but you don't need that. You can have one solar panel charging a Jackery. You can charge a Jackery on, in your cigarette lighter while you're driving down the road to a new location. That kind of a thing, and you'd have plenty of power for charging your phone, charging your laptop, whatever. There are jobs out there. You can get a job at places like Wall Drug or whatever, where you just wash dishes or cook. You do it for 3 months, and you make enough money to live the rest of the year on the road. And you don't have to drive constantly. That's not what it means to live on the road. There are places here in the United States called BLM Land, Bureau of Land Management. There's also various state campgrounds, like in New Mexico. You can get a state pass, and it's like $225 for the year, and you camp practically for free, but you just have to move every 2 weeks. The same with the BLM land, unless you can go into what they call the long-term visitor areas, LTVAs. There's one out in Arizona. It costs like $180 $6, I think, or $180, and you can stay there for 7 months. You don't want to be there the other 5 months because it's hot as heck there. But you can literally live there, and you won't have to move. You'll have showers and bathrooms in addition to whatever you might have in your own vehicle. I know a guy, his name is Brian. He works for Cheap RV Living, does videos, and he bought a Class C motorhome like 12 years ago for $12,000, and he's still driving it, and he tows a little Geo Tracker behind, and he works at the national parks for a few months out of the year and makes enough money that he survives the rest of the year. Plus, I think he's making a little bit by making videos for Cheap RV Living. And he does comfortably. I know of young people who work in various agricultural fields, including the marijuana fields in California, and they go out there and they work during the harvest season, and they harvest the cannabis, and they get paid, and then the other 10 and a half, 11 months out of the year, they live on that money. And you're not going to become rich doing that, but you're going to have all kinds of freedom. And you're not going to be, if you have a Jackery or a bank of batteries like I have, and you have some solar panels, things like that, you won't have to pay the bills that I'm paying right now for living in this dang double wide mobile home that I'm renting. And just in the simple fact that when we move out of here and into our bus, we're going to be saving practically $2,000 a month because we won't have to pay rent and utilities anymore. And you might give up some freedom, or not freedom. Is it freedom? You're gaining freedom. You're giving up some convenience. That's what it is. But you'll have freedom. But so you don't have to move to another country. You can live in the U.S. Another option is there are small towns still existing in the United States where you can find affordable housing. Presumably, you may have to work a little bit more because you won't make as much money. I mean, the jobs in a town, say if you find a town where you can rent an apartment for $600 a month, more than likely you're going to be lucky to find a job for about $10, $12 an hour. You'll be lucky. And my nephew was working at a job. He got a better paying job. He's working at a factory now, plastics factory. He was working at a convenience store, and he's making about $13 an hour, I think, in a little town that he could find a place to live for like $800 a month. And you can do that. You'll work full time. You'll probably not get to travel the way I will in the bus or anyone else who makes that decision. But my point is that there are some options, but you'll still be paying bills. You got to pay the utility companies, which goes back to what I talked about. We need to change the system. It's unlikely to happen. Maybe. I do know my state representative here in Michigan. She's been a longtime friend of our family, and I'm hoping that I can contact her and share with her my ideas about changing our public utilities to actual public utilities. And that would save us, probably cut our bills in half. Not our bills, everyone's bills here in the state. Basically publicize, publicize the public utilities rather than having them in the hands of the private non-profits which pay shareholders. How can you be a non-profit when you're paying dividends? I mean, get serious. So anyway, we live in a screwed up system, and I'm not even calling for the death of capitalism. It's going to die on its own. We're in end stage capitalism now. It's just I'm hoping and preparing as many people as I can for the reality of what's coming. And it'll be better because it'll be truly democratic, and we'll look out for each other. We'll look out for our neighbors. And anyone who says that they don't want to pay for someone else's health care doesn't understand how insurance works. But that just shows the mentality, the intelligence of the average American voter. We don't even understand the economics we claim to worship. It's ridiculous. That's why a good dose of Michael Hudson, Stephanie Kelton, Karl Marx, Adam Smith, for crying out loud, the father of capitalism, will tell you the problem that we're going through today, and it's landlords and bankers, and that's our problem. It's not government, except that the government's owned by the bankers and the landlords. That's what Bernie Sanders talked about for a long time, but Bernie, he's a sellout now. He's a Joe Biden supporter instead of being a socialist. So anyway, I don't apologize for being a socialist. I know it's the best system there is. And, if as soon as the hegemony is totally broken of the United States, once we lose these three wars, Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Palestine, and Taiwan, China, once we've got our asses kicked in those three locations, and our dollar is no longer the primary reserve currency in the world, we're going to be looking for some way to survive this economy. It's going to be tough. But if the British did it, and they did, we can do it. The problem is we need to go full on socialism. That's what England started with. That's how they ended up with the National Health Service and all the various citizen protections, the dole, so to speak, and all that. But eventually, Margaret Thatcher got in, promised everyone the moon. It was going to lift all boats. Does that sound familiar? Ronald Reagan. And every Republican and Democrat since Ronald Reagan has been a disciple of Ronald Reagan, including Barack Obama. That's just all there is to it. That's all there is to it. We need somebody to the left of Bernie Sanders, because Bernie, if he was in Europe, would be a right-winger. Although in Europe right now, I don't know what they're going to do, because they're doing what Argentina did. They're saying neoliberalism doesn't work, so let's put a libertarian in. Let's put a fascist in, like Italy just did, and what's one other country, I can't think where it was. But they're going to learn that they need to go left. And in England, they need George Galloway, not Keir Starmer. They need, Jeremy Corbyn, not, Starmer. They need, they don't need Le Pen or Macron in France. They need Mélenchon, I think was his name, but whatever. They need people who know how to build an economy, to plan an economy properly. And that's where socialism comes in. Don't apologize for it. In the meantime, get in your cars, live on the road, break the power of the landlords, the banks, get out of debt. Our economy is based on debt. Get out of debt and you'll crash the economy. But you'll be better off. All right. Well, peace.